All right. Very good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's class, today's session. Today, we're going to be dealing with some questions and concepts pertaining to the SNAP exam, uh, which is very near, right? So, yeah, before we begin with the questions, allow me to, kind of quickly take you through the introduction of the Unacademy platform, what Unacademy is all about. Um, just give me a moment. So, Unacademy is India's largest learning platform today when it comes to any kind of test preparation. We've got top educators, quality content, and great learning experience. Essentially, top educators delivering quality content for great learning experience. This YouTube channel is particularly for management exams such as your CAT, GMAT, and MATSAT, and the likes. I am Prankur Arora. I'm going to be your instructor on this journey of learning, wherein I'll be essentially taking you through various concepts pertaining to the verbal ability as well as the reading comprehension portions of these exams. Have been in the learning industry for a better part of the last couple of years, wherein we've wherein I've even consulted with organizations such as Interglobe Air Transport, Marico Limited, ITC Limited, and the likes. I am a published author. Wrote this book called It's Not Funny. The book is basically a work of satirical fiction, right? And it even garnered amazing reviews from the likes of Biswapati Sarkar and Papa CJ, great satirists in our country. I hold advanced certifications in facilitation from an American organization called Leadership Management International, and I co founded this startup by the name of Thought Sutra. Thought Sutra is essentially my endeavor to uplift the ecosystem of the creative arts in our country. Yeah, that's pretty much about me. Now let's talk about the pedagogy, right? The pedagogy that Unacademy follows is that you'll get access to daily live classes on the platform which are free of cost. You can chat with educators, engage in discussions with them, ask your doubts, clear your questions, and even the question answers during the classes, they are conducted in the form of live polls, which is an amazing format because it develops some kind of competitive spirit to make the class even more engaging. Now, when it comes to tests and quizzes, the idea of these tests and quizzes is to help you evaluate your performance, right? And the idea of evaluation is to essentially give you a detailed analysis of how you did, right? That will help you develop perspective about where you are versus where you want to be in your learning journey. All the courses on the platform are structured, right? Structured in line with your exam syllabus to help you get the best of everything. And with one subscription to the platform, you get unlimited access to all kinds of live and recorded courses that you can access from the comfort of any of your devices. These are some of the top educators on the platform. You can clearly see how very credible they are, right? And over the years, uh, they've garnered a lot of experience and mentored a lot of students into various top tier management institutions. The idea is you can start learning from all of these top educators for free before deciding whether you want to subscribe to the platform or not. New batches, new courses with these educators, they keep on going live. Language is never a barrier either. We've got educators teaching in vernacular languages as well. If you're not as comfortable in English, you might be able to grab hold of somebody who's teaching in a regional language that you were brought up on, right? And the idea is that you design your own schedule. You decide what are the kind of courses you want to enroll into, who are the educators you want to be learning from. All that ownership is on you. Plus, as I mentioned, all interaction happens in real time, and the detailed analysis that we give you on your test performance, it includes in-depth insights, such as your topic-wise scores, what is the time you're spending on every question, competitive statistics in comparison to all the others, as well as the topper in that particular test or quiz, right? Also, you'll see that I'll be scribbling a lot of stuff on the class notes. All of these class notes, along with the educator annotations, they're made available to you once you subscribe to the platform. Talking of subscription, these are the various models. You can clearly see that as the time period of the subscription increases, the cost of the subscription per month goes down dramatically. Yes, and if you use my name Prankur, You will get an extra 10% off on any of the subscriptions that you go for. Now we understand that preparing for any competitive exam is a long undertaking, lengthy undertaking, right? So if you're preparing for 2021, I would highly recommend at least a 6 month or a 12-month journey. Having said that, let's start with the first question of the day. This is a previous year Snap question. We know Snap tests us on idioms and synonyms and antonyms and phrases and whatnot, right? So this is one such question. The idiom against the clock means what? So, against the clock. Break the rules, rush then short on time, go back to the past, look at the past. Against the clock is essentially, against the clock is, a situation in which someone has to do something very quickly because there is not much time, right? So, it was a race against the clock to finish the job on time, something like that. So the idea would be rushed and short on time, right? The answer option. Let's look at the next question. You have to spot the error in the sentence below. The sentence has been divided into various parts, broken down into various parts, and you have to spot the error. However, the advantages of teamwork can be minimized and the benefits increased if members, particularly those who lead them, is aware of the methods for improving performance and making decisions. Who is aware? Who is aware of the methods of improving performance and making decisions? Members. Members is plural, right? This is plural. But we can clearly see that the main verb in this sentence is singular. So this is the part that is incorrect grammatically because this should have been who are aware. If members are aware of the methods for improving performance and making decisions. Spot the error in the sentence below. When assertion is used with the win-win approach and with others who also uses the win-win approach, each party can consider the needs of the other and move towards a solution that satisfies as many needs as possible. Again, when assertion is used with the win-win approach and with others who also uses the win-win approach, right? Others is plural, right? This is plural, right? So the verb for this needs to be plural as well. And with others who also use the win-win approach, each party can consider the needs of the other and move towards a solution that satisfies as many needs as possible. Yes, Atharva, you're right. B is the part that is incorrect. Select the pair that best expresses the relationship similar to that expressed in this pair. Turmoil is to confusion. D. Chaos is to disorder is correct. Turmoil is a state of confusion, and chaos also means disorder. Now, caustic and sarcastic are similar, but caustic is when you're very, very bitter. Again, metamorphosis and transformation are also similar, but metamorphosis is a very specific term, right? You metamorphosize into something, right? Assassination and murder are also similar, but in a very subtle way, they are very, very different also, right? But when it comes to chaos and disorder, they're totally the same. When we call others dogmatic, what we really object to is couldn't get it. So, dogmatic is when others are also holding dogmas or opinions that are very, very different from our opinions, right? For example, what is happening in India right now with between the left and the right? Both have their own dogmas, right? So both of them, when it comes to extremism, are dogmatic. All right. So what we really object to is their holding dogmas that are different from our own. Be right. I am an entertainer. Dash. I have to keep smiling because in my heart, laughter and sorrow have an affinity. The idea here is that we have to look for something that is the opposite of smiling, and the opposite of smiling is more having tears in the eyes, because the idea is that depression is a very different thing. Yes, exactly. A is the answer. Even though I am depressed inside, I have to keep smiling. Uh, A is the correct answer here. Even if I have tears in my eyes, I have to keep smiling because in my heart, laughter and sorrow have an affinity. Here, we had to kind of look for something that is like the opposite of smiling, which is crying or having tears in the eyes. Depression is an altogether different ball game, right? So that is why we'll not go with depression here. Even if I have tears in my eyes, I have to keep smiling because in my heart, laughter and sorrow have an affinity. They wanted to know that we could extend the required help. Here we have to look for a better construction, a better grammatical construction. D, they wanted to know if we could extend the required help is the correct answer. Now, which does not make a sensible word phrase when added to the word honey? This is a Snap 2017 question. Honey pot, honeysuckle, honeycomb, honey taste. D, honey taste is the correct answer. Honeypot is essentially when you're seducing someone to do something. Honeysuckle is again a phrase. Honeycomb is, bees build honeycomb, right? Honey taste is not a phrase or is not a word either, right? So D is the correct answer. Fill in the blank. Okay, nahi pata. His remarks. So aphorisms are, general observations that you think are very philosophical and true, right? Aphorisms are that. Platitudes, again, when it comes to platitudes, बहुत बार बोलते नहीं है कि यार don't try to placate me with your platitudes. Platitude is basically, when you make a remark or a statement, and especially you think that that statement has some moral content, but the idea is that those statements have been used so often that they're not thoughtful, they're not empathetic. Right, for example, जब भी कोई दुखी होता है, if someone tells us that, what, I'm not doing very well, I'm probably depressed, then you tell them things will get better, don't worry. These are platitudes, right? Bombast is inflated statements, right? And when it comes to adages are basically proverbs, right? An adage is a proverb. ठीक है. So his remarks were filled with dash which sounded lofty but presented nothing new to the audience. Platitudes. His remarks were filled with platitudes because they don't do anything for you. Whenever you tell somebody don't worry, things will get better, that has no basis in truth, right? That has no empathy. It is just cliche. Platitudes are essentially cliche. ठीक है. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. When indecision grips a nation, free men feel the need for uh, and dash ruler and are prepared to throw democracy overboard. Hey, so the hint here essentially was that when we are saying when a decision grips a nation, free men feel the need for and dash ruler and are prepared to throw democracy overboard. Right? Now the hint here is we are prepared to throw democracy overboard. Right? When we are prepared to throw democracy overboard, we want to look for something that is like the opposite of democracy. And here that option is presented to us in the form of autocratic, something that is happening in India right now. That is basically a ruler who has absolute power. A ruler who has absolute power and is not really making use of democratic ideals. Right? So, autocracy is something that we want to refer to here. When it comes to optimism, optimistic ruler will not throw democracy overboard. No, optimistic ruler will probably try to be more decisive, right? Eccentric is basically a strange ruler, right? Energetic again does not make sense here. So we had to look for a word that would be kind of opposite in the meaning to democracy, and that is autocracy. A great literary or artistic work is known as what? Okay. A great literary or artistic work. When it comes to Beth-Noir or Peccadillo is essentially a sin, right? When it comes to Beth-Noir is again, uh, how do I tell you? Beth-Noir is, you know, a, a person or a thing that or anybody particularly dislikes, right? For example, my this relative of mine that I don't really gel well with or don't get along with was my Beth Noir, right? Par excellence, par excellence is too general a term. Magnum opus is more like it. Magnum opus is basically used to refer to a person's best work in terms of art or literature or music, right? So best work that an artist or a music composer or a writer has ever produced, that is their magnum opus. ठीक है? So D is the answer in this regard. That a great literary or artistic work is known as magnum opus. The carriage foundered in a snowdrift and it took 2 hours to, yes, extricate it. Exactly. Exacerbate is when you make a thing worse. Exert is when you put a lot of mental effort, physical effort. Pillage is when you are robbing a place, right? So extricate is the perfect verb in this regard. A. So here the answer would not be A. The answer would be B, ecological. Ecological is basically the study or a branch that of science that deals with the relationships of environment and organisms, right? So influence of the environment on man is revealed by an ecological study. Anthropological is the study of the history of man, right? That is what anthropology is. It is the study of what makes us human. Epigraphy is the study of epigraphs or inscriptions, right? And numismatics is basically the study of correction of coins, right? That is what numismatic is. Human evolution की study anthropology है, but influence of environment on man or any organism for that matter is ecology. यहाँ पे influence of environment की बात हो रही है ना, यहाँ पे human evolution की बात नहीं हुई है, right? So there's that difference between the two. 34 is enough for what? Hi Naman. Yeah. The 34 is enough or is 34 enough? A is the flood of brilliant ideas has not only overwhelmed us but has also encouraged us to extend the last date for submission of entries. Yes, perfect. Is 34 enough for SIBM? 34 score when it comes to general English, when it comes to the verbal portion? Hi Tejasvi. Depends on the high cutoff marks this year have. Okay, you're saying A. Have cajoled college admission seekers to either ask for lesser known colleges or change their subject. Uh, A is incorrect here, Tejasvi. I think Atharva is right. the high cutoff marks this year have forced college admission seekers to either settle for lesser known colleges or change their subject preferences. Yes. यार देखो, वर्बल एबिलिटी में यू शुड बी अराउंड 30, राइट? वर्बल एबिलिटी में यू शुड बी अराउंड 30 इज व्हाट आई कैन से। नमन, वर्बल एबिलिटी में अराउंड 30 सही होगा, मतलब कट ऑफ क्लियर हो जाएगा, राइट? एंड इफ यू वांट एन SIBM then it should be around 34 35. Yes. Choose the word that does not match with the two given words, right? So Atharva, try to decipher what these words mean, right? Inordinate or huge. Excessive is an obvious that it is on the same lines. Considerable also is basically on the same lines. Considerable is basically when you're saying that something is notably large in size or amount. Enormous भी same ही होता है. Insatiable on the other hand is something that means different. Insatiable is basically when you say that I have a desire or an appetite that is uh, basically tough to satisfy. So insatiable is one that does not match with the two given words. यार मैं सेक्शन वाइज कट ऑफ बता रहा हूँ ना, 60 मार्क्स का तो वैसे पेपर होगा। मैं टोटल वो बता रहा हूँ। Choose the word that does not match with the two given words. हम लोग प्रीवियस ईयर से एक्सट्रैपोलेट कर सकते हैं ना। So the word that does not match with the two given words when it comes to laconic or succinct, we're trying to say that are we are being very, to the point, very brief, very direct, right? So terse, brief, and concise, they kind of mean the same. But when it comes to abrupt, it is the word that does not match with either laconic or succinct when it comes to its meaning. So D is the answer in this regard. Tepid is basically lukewarm, and hot is obviously hot. Similarly, joy and ecstasy are the ones that match here, because a lot of joy becomes ecstasy, right? Lukewarm ka extreme version is hot. Jealousy and envy, they're kind of similar in meaning, but jealousy is not the bottled down version of envy. And same goes with hatred and antipathy or unity and harmony. So joy and ecstasy match the analogy here. Find the correct match for several meanings with usage of the word complex. So the meanings that have been given to us are complicated, abnormal, group of structures, and mixture. A new sports complex is coming up for Commonwealth Games. Sports complex is a group of structures. So clearly, 3 and 5 are a match, and the only option giving us that is option B. So basically, we can decipher how complicated is basically the meaning that is used here. His motives in carrying out the crime were complicated. All right. 2-7. Abnormal state of mind. She has a complex about being overweight. She has an abnormal state of mind. Also 2-7 also match. 4-6. Mixture. Culture is a complex whole of many things. A mixture of many things. So option B seems the most viable in this regard. Let's look at another question. Find a correct match of grammatical function with the usage of the word still. Noun, adjective, verb, adverb. Will you still love me when I'm old and grey? Still water runs deep. So here we are defining the water that is still, and we are clearly using it as an adjective here. He wanted some stills for a magazine, some photographs, some stills for a magazine. This is clearly a noun because we are using it as an object. The good news. Hi Deepshika, welcome to the class. C. 1B, 2A, yes, 3C. The good news makes me still my fears. Will you still love me when I am old and grey is so you are saying that 3 is C. Here we are using it as a verb. The good news makes me still my fears, yes. And 4D, correct. Well done. Deepshika, identify the error. See, they are often displayed is the error portion, because this they here is ambiguous. It is ambiguous. It could refer to women as well, right? Hi Sarthak, welcome to the class. Because women buy approximately 80% of ties sold in India, ties are often displayed near perfume or women's clothing departments. Which of the following, if true, most seriously weakens the argument? A physically active lifestyle has been shown to help increase longevity. In the Vistar region of Bellaria, the average age at death is considerably higher than in any other part of the country. Vistar is the only mountainous part of Bellaria. A mountainous terrain makes even such basic activities as walking relatively strenuous. It essentially imposes a physically active lifestyle on people. Clearly, this circumstance explains the long lives of people in Vistar. Which of the following, if true, seriously weakens the argument? Right? What is the situation here? The situation is very, very simple. We are talking about um, a country called Bellaria, and we are saying that it has a mountainous region, Vistar, and then we are saying that because it is a mountainous region, even basic activities like walking are relatively strenuous, and that is why people lead a physically active lifestyle, and that is why they have long lives. We have to weaken this. C weakens this, yes, that many people who live in the Vista region, they've moved there in their middle age or upon retirement. So then we cannot claim that, their conditioning has been such कि वो बचपन से अगर walking कर रहे हैं या थोड़ा भी physically strenuous काम कर रहे हैं, they lead a physically active lifestyle. People are moving there in middle age or upon retirement, so there has to be a different reason for them having a long life, right? Then physically active lifestyle cannot be the reason for long life. Well done, Sarthak. Which of the following, if true, would cast the most serious doubt on the accuracy of the group's contention? Again, a weakening question. Buddy, it is again a very subjective question. In RC 3, 4, or 5 could be either. But I think they'll give you at least 4 questions. That is something that is there. Yeah, it's not really fixed. But you could get an idea from the mock, from the official mock, right? D. That raccoons and owls are shy and active only at night, yet they are not generally feared and persecuted. Yes, Deepshika, well done. Let's look at this paragraph. Right. Let me know once you're done reading it, and then we'll shift to the questions. Hi, Sashanka. Mock score are not very good. How should I improve it? Find out your strength areas and focus on them right now. That is what I would recommend. I don't try to, basically improve upon the areas that you're not really performing well in. Focus on the strength areas right now. Okay, let's quickly read this now. D.H. Lawrence said, "The supreme triumph for man, the vast marvel is to be alive. For man, as for flower and beast and bird, the supreme triumph is to be most vividly, most perfectly alive. Whatever the unborn and the dead may know, they cannot know the beauty, the marvel of being alive in the flesh. The dead may look after the afterwards, but the magnificent here and now of life in the flesh is ours and ours alone for a time. We ought to dance with rapture that we should be alive and in the flesh and part of the living incarnate cosmos. I am part of the sun as my eye is the part of me. That I am part of the earth, my feet below know the perfectly, and my blood is part of the sea. My soul knows that I am a part of the human race. My soul is an inorganic part of the great human soul, as my spirit is a part of my nation. In my own very self, I am part of my family. There is nothing of me that is alone and absolute except my mind. And we shall find that the mind has no existence by itself. It is only the glitter of the sun on the surface of the waters." Apocalypse 1931. So, this is a dialogue from the film Apocalypse Now. right? And we can clearly see that the idea here is that the person is talking about being alive, right? And the rapture and the joy of being alive and how it feels to be alive, right? So let's look at the question. By triumph, the author means what? Very simple question, and this is a past snap question. I think it was snap 2013, right? And we can clearly see that the paragraph is not very difficult. It's not as tough as, a zat paragraph or a cat paragraph. What does the author mean by triumph? The author means victory. Yes. When the dead look after the afterwards, the living should look at life. I'll take you back to the passage for this one. Look at the options right now. Forever, for some months, for only a short while, in the past. Right? I'll take you back to the paragraph. Right. The dead may look after the afterwards, but the magnificent here and now of life in the flesh is ours, and ours alone, and ours only for a time. Right? So, what do you think is the correct answer in this regard? When the dead look after the afterwards, the living should look at life for only a short while. Yes, Deepshika. By rapture, the author means an emotion involving great. So, by rapture, the author means an emotion involving great joy. Yes, good job, Deepshika. By the last line, the author means that the mind is only. I'll take you back to the last line. Look at the options. First, a mirage, an illusion, magic, a reflection. There is nothing of me that is alone and absolute except my mind, and we shall find that the mind has no existence by it itself. It is only the glitter of the sun on the surface of the waters. Read it again. There is nothing of me that is alone and absolute except my mind, and we shall find that the mind has no existence by itself. It is only the glitter of the sun on the surface of the waters. Right? So by the last line, again, I'll take you back to the passage just to confirm it. The author said that it is only the glitter of the sun on the surface of the waters. So essentially, what the author is trying to get at is that there's the reflection of the sun, right? The author means that the mind is only a reflection. Glitter of the sun on the surface of the waters is not an illusion, it is not magic, it is not a mirage either. What is it? It is a reflection, right? That is the comparison that the author was trying to draw. The tone of the passage. The question is about the tone of this passage now. The tone of this passage is social, moral, reflective, philosophical. It's clearly not social, right? The tone of the passage was not social. The author was trying to go on and on about what he thinks being alive feels like. So it was not really reflective either. The author was not reflecting upon an incident or a past or anything for that matter. It was not moral, right? D, philosophical. Yes, I agree with you there. It was very philosophical. The most suitable title for this passage would be D, alive and kicking. Yes, I agree with you there. The most suitable title for this passage would be alive and kicking. Let's look at another paragraph. In her seminal work, The Continuum Concept, Jean Lidloff presents the controversial theory that Western methods of child rearing create the very problem these methods purport to eliminate, that is, excessive dependency upon the caretaker. Lidloff contrasts her observations of modern American society with those of the Kua tribe of the Amazon, with whom she lived on four separate occasions spanning several years. Lidloff claims that all humans operate on a continuum and are genetically predisposed to thrive under certain conditions. We also compensate for treatment which does not coincide with these optimal conditions by adapting our behavior to stabilize our psyches. Right. So here the subject of this passage is basically Jean Lidloff's work, which was the continuum concept, and how she went about doing it. Paragraph 2. A baby who is in constant bodily contact with its caregiver receives physical stimulation that allows the child to feel secure and right. In contrast, a child who is alone most of the time and left to cry it out does not receive the necessary physical contact. This creates a dependency in the child who soon develops the grasping need for attention and even negative attention. Lightlof contends that some parents fears that they will spoil their baby by holding it too much or by feeding it on demand are unreasonable and even detrimental to the child's mental health and social development. So here this paragraph is contrasting one, uh, a baby in a situation feels secure and right, and in contrast a baby who is alone cries it out definitely does not receive physical contact, and how that creates dependency in the child, right, and what kind of behavior the child develops. Paragraph 3. Adults who've been deprived of their continuum needs as children often seeks to stabilize themselves by engaging in self-defeating or destructive behavior, which replicates the treatment to which they have become accustomed. Victims of emotionally barren parents may tend to seek mates who are domineering and cold and making true intimacy virtually impossible. Others may feel a lingering sense of guilt induced by a caregiver who never seem to accept the child's existence. This guilt makes it difficult for an adult to feel peaceful or happy unless he is in crisis either physically or emotionally. The unresolved feelings of shame from childhood do not allow the adult to live a pain free life. So, here we are talking about the coping mechanisms that adults seem to develop when their continuum needs are not really paid attention to when they were children. And this is basically, I think, the fourth paragraph, and I think it should be, sorry, it should be the second last paragraph, if not the last one. Lidloff's critics argue that this form of attachment parenting does not enforce the natural hierarchy of parent over child in the family relationship. They stress that without a clear dominance of parent over child and discipline requiring the child to bend to the will of the parents from the moment of birth, the child does not develop a sense of right versus wrong. Concluding paragraph. Many of these critics espouse more scientific methods of raising children that rely on regularly scheduled feeding in infancy and careful control of the child's environment as the child grows older. Lidloff's response is that tight parental control over the child determines its natural impulses towards socially acceptable behavior. Without choice, the child will not gain experience in making decisions and will be forced to look to an outside authority rather than use his own judgment, upsetting the balance of continuum by co opting the child's natural ability to move toward independence and decision making skills. She asserts ultimately results in a lack of maturity and self reliance in the adult. So, here we are talking about this paragraph is essentially talking about what the critics say and what is Lidloff's response to the critics. Look at the first question. What is the primary purpose of the passage? Primary purpose is essentially the main idea of the passage. right? Describe a strange phenomenon, clarify a vague notion, condemn an ill informed opinion, refute a grievous misconception, support an alternative theory. So, look at what the first paragraph itself told us, right? In a seminal work, presents the controversial theory that Western methods of child rearing create the very problem these methods purport to eliminate excessive dependency upon the caretaker. So, we know for a fact that this is a controversial theory. This is a an alternative theory, and the entire passage then supports the theory or tells us as to why Lidloff's work makes a lot of sense, right? So the primary purpose of the passage in that regard is to not describe. There is no strange phenomenon, there is no clarification that was happening, no ill-informed opinions were being condemned, right? Misconceptions were also not being refuted, but an alternative theory was being discussed. So E is the best answer in that case. According to the passage, Lidloff believes that adults whose sense of continuum is denied to them as children, they do what? What are their coping mechanisms that were being discussed, right? Are they unable or unwilling to have children of their own? This is not something that was discussed. Do they develop a strong sense of discipline and familial hierarchy? The opposite, rather. They don't develop a strong sense of discipline. They suffer feelings of shame and inadequacy. If you remember, the passage was telling us how these people start feeling guilty a lot, right? And guilty ka another word is shame, that they suffer from feelings of shame, right? So C in that regard seems like a very viable answer option, right? Adults who've been deprived of their continuum. I'll take you back to the passage, right? I'll take you back to the passage. Adults who've been deprived of their continuum needs as children often seek to stabilize themselves by engaging in self-defeating or destructive behavior which replicates the treatment to which they have become accustomed, right? They Others may feel a lingering sense of guilt induced by a caregiver who never seemed to accept the child's existence. Guilt, shame, it's the same thing. Finally, the last question for today. Which of the following best describes the function of the passage's fourth paragraph? Critics argue that this form of attachment parenting does not enforce the natural hierarchy of parent over child and family relationship. They stress that without a clear dominance of parents over child and discipline requiring the child to bend to the will of the parents from the moment of the birth, the child does not develop a sense of right versus wrong. Many of these critics argue yada yada yada. So it provides the reader the opportunity to see how both Lidloff and her critics rebut each other's opinion, resolves the argument, no resolution was arguing, undermines the passage by suggesting that Lidloff's theories may be incomplete, stresses the need for all parents to establish familial authority, suggests that Lidloff would be willing to modify her theories and acknowledge the importance of more scientific methods. So, what is it doing? The beginning of the paragraph begins with how Lidloff's critics, and then we see references to Lidloff's response as well, right? That though most of the passage is devoted to kind of examining Lidloff's ideas, the differences of opinion they are never resolved. Nor do we get the impression that Lidloff's work is incorrect or incomplete. We just know that there are some people who disagree with her, right? So that is why the most appropriate answer option is A, where we say that it provides the reader the opportunity to see how both Lidloff and her critics, they rebut each other's opinions. There was no undermining that was happening, right? Familial authority ki need was not really stressed upon and did not even suggest that Lidloff has to modify her theories in any way. In fact, they were just rebutting each other's opinions, the critics and Lidloff, right? So, with this, we come to the end of today's class. Thank you so much to everybody who kind of tuned in. Means a lot, and hope this practice would go a long way in helping you develop more comfort level when it comes to this particular examination. Right? I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, stay safe, stay strong, and stay mellow. See you guys. All the very best.